And welcome back to the eSellerCafe News Roundup. Today is the 25th of September, and I'm your host, Dave, and I'm joined, as always, by a good friend, Richard Meldner. How are you doing, sir?
I came off a red eye from California. Outside of that,
You see, we should have moved it a couple of hours earlier, then we would have got the obligatory airport,
yeah,
background.
Yeah, you could have had the obligatory airport background. Yeah, it's been a day so far. So it's after this, I'm finally going to get some sleep.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. He's done a full day already. What is it, 11 o'clock where you are? 10 o'clock?
It's 11 o'clock, yeah, and basically, I mean, I've been up since 5 o'clock California time yesterday, so that would have been 8 o'clock Eastern time, and got about an hour of sleep on the plane, and I can call that sleep. So yeah,
it's not really sleep, is it? Anyway, no, as always, appreciate you taking the time and effort to come and chat with us, Richard. Always, like I said, no, it's often on a Monday can be a bit of a challenge after you're gallivanting at the weekends.
Yeah.
So with that said, it does. I totally get why you would do it. I would probably do it as well. Anyway, so today we've got a brand new format that we're going to be trialing for these e-commerce eSellerCafe News Roundup, the e-commerce news. We're going to be kicking off with a sort of a lightning round, giving you a heads up of all the news that has gone on in the past week. And then after that, we're going to actually talk to you about some of the more interesting pieces and dig a little bit deeper, get a discussion going. Feel free to join in with the chat if you're watching us live or in the comments section down below. Again, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So with that said, let's kick things off with the sort of lightning news, the quick brief recap of some of the smaller stories from the week. Richard, we had Shopify and QR codes. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, QR codes are those goofy little codes that you see a lot of times on packaging to generate or create, or that give you immediate URL links on your phone. So, Apple's introduced a native QR reader in its latest iOS. I think most Android phones come with QR readers now. So when you take an image of that QR code, it effectively sends you directly to the website. And so what Shopify has done is they are saying, okay, if you have off-site marketing, here's a good way to send people directly to a product page, and you can even apply sales and special discounts for it with this QR code. So it all gets handled immediately, and your customer goes to the page, potentially with a discount if you're offering it in the ad, or if you're doing like a show or trade show or something, and can purchase the item. So kind of a cool little, gimmick, I guess. It's really more what it is, but it's just another marketing thing. It's another thing Shopify is doing to entice people to use their platform.
Absolutely. Constantly bringing out new features, which is what we like to see. Now, next up, we've got Videoblocks changed its name to Storyblocks and has added stock photos. What is Videoblocks?
Yeah, Videoblocks was really just only started a few years back, and they build up a very quick library of high quality videos. It's sort of like Adobe Stock, Shutterstock, those type of things. And they were really video focused, and what they were doing is they had a subscription model where you got certain videos you could download unlimited, and then you could purchase other ones as needed for a discount if you're part of the membership. Now they've expanded. They claim to be the largest distributor of video. Since there's no real metrics, all these are private companies, so no one really knows, but they have been very popular with the videos. So now they've added stock photography to it. It kind of a little bit like the Envato story we had about like a month or so ago. It's just expanding the reach. Just another service to look at if you're looking like do-it-yourself type of e-commerce owner. Here's another place where you can go and get a subscription, get video, get stock images. Now with them, they are handling it each differently. Video is one subscription, photos is another. Maybe down the road they'll make it into one big subscription for everything. We'll see. So just another source to look at.
Very good, very good. Next up, we have Amazon is the new search engine for products. Now, I can totally believe this because I was at a conference a couple of years ago and someone came out and said, Amazon is now the second largest search engine in the world, just behind Google.
And you just summarized the story.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. That's basically what it is about. You know, it is it's the reality. It's Amazon is jumped way up there. I mean, Google is still technically number one.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as if you know, in this particular, we've had a story like this 6 months ago. Also talking about the same thing, except the previous research only involves online. This particular research we're quoting here also uses offline, where they took a look at how many people are using it as they're walking into stores. They're standing in front of a product and like, I wonder how people perceive this product, or is this a good price, or whatever the case may be. Here in the United States, we have pricing. Manufacturers often have price requirements or with dealers, so the pricing sometimes is not the issue. So you can walk into like a Best Buy and something will cost $500 there. If you find it on Amazon, it'll cost $500 there as well, because manufacturer says, if you want to be our dealer, this is what you sell it at. It's perfectly legal in the US. But what you can learn is what people think of the product, and so therefore it becomes and get a feel for some of the other specifications that may not be available on the display there.
That's it. It makes total sense. Again, Amazon product pages tend to be very good on the on the big selling products, on the main products that are out there. A lot of the branded stuff, descriptions are great, pictures are great. You've got product reviews. You've got everything that a consumer would want to read before they actually buy. So it makes sense.
I do it all the time. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I wonder why eBay are doing this as well. Anyway,
actually, eBay in that story, we do mention eBay is fairly up there too. It's not. Yeah, people do use eBay as well, but I think there's just a great trust in Amazon is what it really shows.
Yeah, absolutely, and just the fact that they are everywhere. Next up, BigCommerce Australia announces a deal with Shippit.
Yeah, so BigCommerce originally started in Australia, and technically now they are their headquarters is in Austin, but their whole roots were from Australia. So Shippit is a company that started out in Australia just a few years back. Out of it was just I guess a couple guys putting something together to do local delivery, and I'm trying to just look at what was the Sydney's famous Surrey Hills neighborhood. I guess it's fashion and stuff in that area. I'm not 100% sure. I've never been to Australia. I don't know that area very well at all. So it started out with that, and then all of a sudden it's blossomed into this nationwide company, and so now BigCommerce has created an integration with them, so everything flows through the system. Again, like we had with the earlier Shopify story, BigCommerce is one of the big, SaaS e-commerce platforms out there. They're doing more to attract people. This happens to be an Australian story, so that obviously does not impact BigCommerce in the United States, which I think is a much larger piece of the pie for them. But with all these companies out there, all these e-commerce players out there, it's nice to see how everybody's upping the game in many different ways and in different locations, and mostly I think because Amazon is forcing the competition.
Absolutely, makes perfect sense. Next up is a piece that I wrote, which was about the African e-commerce challenge. Now, this comes about. It was a company called Jumia. You may not have heard of them, but they are the largest e-commerce platform in Africa. And no surprises, based out of Nigeria, again, the most heavily populated part of Africa, perhaps one of the more advanced parts of Africa. And they were saying that obviously they feel that as more and more of Africa become connected online, there's a lot of people there which have yet to see the revolution that sort of e-commerce can bring. Now, they did notice that there is, it's sort of like potential versus infrastructure. We need the infrastructure to sort of catch up before the full potential can be realized. So again, we take for granted here in the UK and certainly the US and Australia as well. We have very nice roads and with postmen and post boxes who post codes or zip codes who know exactly where products are going. In most parts of Africa, that is not the case. The logistics as well, size-wise, again, this is something which America has to deal with on a sort of looking at the map there on a pretty big scale. Africa's got it on a slightly bigger scale, but it's curious. And the point that Jumia is making is that yes, once as more people are coming online, and they're investing a lot in sort of like internet cafe sort of setups where people can go get online, and then they've got sort of lockers setups where people can get things delivered. It's a very sort of like a first step into e-commerce, but they see the demand is growing. And again, it wouldn't surprise me. We've spoken about in previous news roundups how Amazon have gone after Korea, Singapore, and certainly Australia in the next few weeks and months. It wouldn't surprise me if they started to dabble a little bit more in Africa. I know in South Africa, Amazon is known of, but the value proposition isn't there to the same regards that we have it here in the UK and the USA. But as obviously Amazon grows and they go for the global domination, I'm sure Africa will be on their hit list as well. So yeah, just a bit of a fun one to see how the rest of the world is catching up e-commerce wise. Now, keeping on the news of sort of Amazon there, Richard, Amazon and Kohls have formed another partnership.
Yeah, Kohls is a department store here in the United States that's big competitor to Macy's, and just a few weeks back, the two announced they were going to open up these 10 store-in-store concept. I keep calling them boutiques. They're basically 1,000 square foot stores inside of the Kohls. When Amazon was setting up something where you could try all their gadgets, the Fire tablets and so on, and then they would even help you set them up, and kind of like Apple stores, like a mini version of an Apple store, if you want to call it that. And they were test marketing that in Los Angeles and California, or that's where they're going to test market. That's where the rollout is. Well, then just 2 weeks later, they announced, we're now going to have 80 locations in those two markets, which roughly basically means the rest of the Kohls stores that do not have this Amazon boutique, you'll be able to take returns back to Kohls that need to go back to Amazon, and they're going to ship them back for free. So effectively, Kohls acts as a consolidator for returns, which probably means they have some kind of system in place where, since Kohls has a return system, it goes back to a warehouse. I assume it's just all handled through that supply chain backwards, and then from one warehouse within each region, it then gets sent back to Amazon. The interesting part here really is what's in this for Amazon, because with Whole Foods, theoretically, it could do the same thing. These are not markets. I mean, both of these markets are served by Whole Foods. Is there more to this? And the fact that they picked the same exact markets to test. We've talked about tests before by companies like Walmart, so they'll pick something, Denver here, and then test something else, another like in Texas. And in this case, they're dealing the exact same two markets. So you start to think there's some kind of synergy going on here that they're trying to figure out. Could it be that Amazon might want to buy Kohls? That's a possibility too. It's not, they're not that expensive, quote unquote. Kohls has some deals with some famous brands, or has their own house brands that people like. And again, there might be something with that could show up on Amazon, similar to the Sears deal with Kenmore. Interesting to watch. That's why I keep looking at this, and when it pops up, I keep popping it up there as a story, because I see more to this than what just these little tests are. So we'll see.
Interesting. Want to keep an eye on for sure. Next up, we have a piece about how AI is helping mobile engagement. Now, this piece came about from Alibaba. However, it's just as relevant for Google, Amazon, and a whole host of others. But the piece was about how Alibaba's use of AI, they noted, had really helped mobile engagement. By AI, we're sort of talking machine learning, deep learning, transfer learning, and all that sort of techie, computery, geeky stuff. It boils down to quite simple. It is that Alibaba has noted that having more intuitive search functions and sort of autofill results for customers is seeing more engagement on mobile. It's not a surprise. It's basically saying we've made it better, so people are using it more. That's exactly what they're saying. But yeah, it's nice to see that AI is playing more of a part. Obviously, Huawei, we spoke about a couple of weeks ago with their phone. They're very much getting involved with, again, the machine learning part. I know Google obviously be doing some very clever stuff with the Google Home, the Google Assistant. So again, be interesting to see how this develops over the next few months and ultimately years. Richard, UPS to hire about 95,000 seasonal employees. Wow.
Yeah, it's. I mean, every year they put out this number, and it seems to be getting bigger. What's interesting for this year is that UPS early in the year announced that they're going to start doing Saturday deliveries for ground shipments. Typically, most seasonal employees, yes, people do start out sometimes on as a seasonal employee and then stay on as a permanent employee. But I've heard in the past, from some folks that I've known that said, "Oh, you have to do this for several seasons before they start saying, hey, why don't you hang around?" Because this, UPS is a company that's known to offer very good benefits. So working for them has a lot of good benefits for an employee. This year might be if you're looking to change, if somebody's looking to change to do something, this is just maybe a little better opportunity than normal because of the Saturday delivery aspect. That's going to require retaining people to continue the Saturday deliveries. And so, but mostly it's a story about UPS is getting ready. Everybody's starting to hire. FedEx, I'm sure we'll see a story here soon. We'll hire X amount of people. It's just getting ready for e-commerce and deliveries, and that's basically the underlying story here. Is e-commerce keeps growing, so these logistics companies have to hire more people for the holiday season.
Absolutely. And just a fun fact there, looking at my little map chart down here with the flags, UPS are hiring 3 times the population of Liechtenstein. Who knew?
Who knew?
Just to
do they speak Belgium there, or do they speak Liechtenstein?
Maybe that's another one on the to-go list. Albertsons acquire meal kit company Plated.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting one because Albertsons, the other grocery store chains that obviously Albertsons being one of the top ones in the United States that are being impacted by the Amazon's purchase of Whole Foods are now trying to figure out what do we do. Grocery stores have not had a good success of getting e-commerce going. They've worked with people like Instacart and stuff to get deliveries going, but there hasn't been really this big breakout idea. So Plated has been around for a few years. It was actually, I've mentioned, it was featured on the show called Shark Tank here, which is a show where you go on and pitch your idea and then you get some money from the investors you're pitching it to. Kind of like
Dragon's Den here in the UK.
Yeah, it's the same Dragon's Den. I think it's what it's called in the UK, and I think that's the name in Canada as well. And I think that was the original show's name in Canada was Dragon's Den. So in any case, Albertsons decided to get into this game, and it's just interesting they didn't buy Blue Apron, since Blue Apron should be pretty cheap right now, but maybe because Plated was a slightly smaller company, was still private, it might be able to get a better deal than going after a public company. But it shows that they're trying to, hey, we got to do something about this, because there seems to be a trend, and I actually want to research this a little bit because I happened to read the story on the plane a couple of days ago that talked about how Amazon is starting to change Whole Foods into becoming more of a mainstream grocer versus the high-end grocer. I don't know where that really stands. Like I said, I read a little bit, I researched a little bit, but clearly we could all see that happening. Albertsons is probably one of the first chances to do something significant about, of trying to, okay, well, if we're going to have this Whole Foods competition with Amazon, meal kits obviously potentially being one of them, we need to start compiling some e-commerce based assets and work with them, and see what we can do. So that's what that's really mostly about.
Interesting. Now we've got Hilton Honors members can now use points to shop on Amazon. So I guess this is sort of like just a points partnership with Hilton and Amazon.
It's what it is. It's a points partnership with Hilton Honors. This is not the best way to go shopping on Amazon. Any of these points things, if you're getting M miles, whether it's American Airlines or I think in the UK you would get British Airways or Virgin miles.
Yeah.
It's always better to use those on the actual original, platform or service that you're getting. That's usually always your best bet. This is just an expansion. When you go to Hilton Honors, or if you go to any of the Air Miles people, you always find sort of like shopping and other things where you can spend your points. But there's always like a dollar ratio or exchange rate that's based on it, and you can clearly see that it is not the greatest in the world. But what is nice about this one is because I happen to have 2,000 honor points that are just floating around doing nothing, and I don't really stay at Hilton, so I can now save $4 and something. I think the screenshot you see in the story is from my own account. I can save $4 on my next Amazon order by actually using them out. So if you happen to stay at Hilton here and there, and you're not going to generate enough points to get a free stay, you can at least use those points and turn them around and buy something at Amazon. So that's the upside of that, so just a points partnership.
Awesome. And this piece was quite a long one. It was a look at Verizon, Telematics, and the challenges of recovering from Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and of course we could talk about the earthquake in Mexico as well.
And this piece was originally started after Harvey, and then it sort of progressed a little bit from there. It's just an interesting way of looking. Telematics is is I guess the fancy term for GPS logistics, and to really dumb it down, I guess, on how you move stuff around and how you keep track of it, and especially when you're dealing with disasters, where all of a sudden, or even maybe places like Africa down the road, where you just don't have the proper addressing systems, or not everything is working the way it's supposed to be. Just a real cool background piece to read. There's a Q&A in there as well. It's just give it a read. I personally always find it fascinating to learn about an industry or an area of our industry, of the industry we're involved in, that you don't really think about much and how it works.
Because that's an interview in there, isn't there, with the VP of Verizon? Yeah, it's fascinating.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's fascinating, and those questions were posed by us. So it was Verizon Telematics, getting us answers back on our questions. So it's really, I thought it was a fascinating piece. I really liked it, I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, personally. Me too, for sure. So definitely check that out. Again, all the links that we mentioned, that we spoke about, are in the description below. Click show more, and you'll see all the links there. And finally, as far for the lightning round goes, unsurprisingly, retail holiday sales are expected to increase. Again, not shocking news, but however, Deloitte have come out and released some expected forecasted figures. So to share those with you quickly, they are expecting retail holiday sales to increase from 4 to 4.5% this season. However, the big news is for e-commerce, as they're expected the increase for e-commerce sales this holiday season to jump from between 18 to 21%. So again, huge driver in e-commerce sales there. And yeah, like I said, it's pretty much going to be unsurprising. The more people that are online, more people on eBay, on Amazon, it makes perfect sense. So again, check out again the story down below from Deloitte. Links in there as well. Got a couple of quotes from some economists and what they're forecasting now. So if you are more into the sort of that nerdy, techy, common economics sort of stuff, then that article is probably much more your sort of thing. Anyway, with that said, that's the lightning round over and done with. So for the rest of our chat today, this is the discussion part where myself and Richard are going to discuss I think we've got 3 of the main topics today.
Yeah, actually three main topics that we didn't mention yet that we're just going to go through.
Yes, these are the 3 big ones that we wanted to talk about today. Again, if you are watching live, feel free to get involved in the discussion. Or if you're not, if you're watching a recording, get involved down below in the comment section. So give you a heads up, the 3 topics are Amazon, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, how to submit your deals, to the eBay autumn/fall seller updates, and probably the most contentious one is eBay sellers may have to pay final value fees for off eBay sales. So let's kick things off with Amazon, Richard. So we actually are able, as sellers, to submit our own deals or proposals for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Isn't that right?
That's what you can do. And that basically what I was being very sneaky. I put that story behind. I did the outline for today. I put that story behind the one about growth with holiday sales that you wrote, because to highlight the fact, hey, look at these holiday sales increases. And now look at Amazon. If you're on Amazon, they're going to give you an opportunity to actually be part of the deals, you know, the Cyber Monday, the Thanksgiving or the Black Friday deals. Now, you know, they're being a little vague about if you get accepted into a deal, it doesn't mean it's going to run on Thursday or Friday. You can't pick your time. You know, they're going to just put it on there. But considering the fact, the amount of traffic they generate in those 4 days, it's a great opportunity. But to be eligible, you have to have stock. You have to have, you know, I mean, everything has to be ready to go. So if you have product that's ready to go that you think you could benefit from a deal and could qualify under their terms with discount and so on and so forth, I think it's worth checking out, because I've seen some of these lightning deals. I mean, the numbers are staggering off what they sell.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. I think that's the big thing is, obviously, as we mentioned, and Richard very cleverly lined up the itinerary today, is that if e-commerce sales are due to jump 18 to 20%, I would hazard a guess Amazon's is going to jump higher than that. To recap, back in July, was it, or August, when Amazon had their Prime Day, they'd seen a 40% increase on the previous Black Friday. Now, Black Friday is traditionally always bigger than Amazon Prime Day. So it stands to reason that this Black Friday is going to be even bigger than Prime Day, which was huge. So again, it's a curious one for me, because I'm thinking, well, there's got to be a lot of competition. There has got to be a lot of competition for these Prime, these Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals. I mean, the one thing that it does let us know, they've given us advance warning, it's going to be a 2-week sales window, basically from the Monday of Thanksgiving week through to the Sunday, I think, after Cyber Monday. So it's a full 2-week period of deals. And obviously you cannot pick and choose what day and time your deal goes live. That's on Amazon. But I'd say that, you know, as much as I say there's a lot of competition, I would also say there's a lot of room there for deals to go in. There must be a lot of slots in there within that 2-week period.
I'll throw out an example. I mean, let's say you sell smartphone cases. We know that you got the iPhone 8 and 10 coming out, or X, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So you might be sitting in a lot of 7 cases. Here's an opportunity to get rid of your 7 cases, because it's still relevant product.
Yep, people still buy them.
And if people still buy them, and so therefore, if you're sitting on a bunch of 7 cases, then why not get them to Amazon and let them blow them out for you, turn them into cash for you, so that you can buy more 8 and 10 cases that you're going to need from down the road. So that's how you have to look at it. You know, the thing with deals is, you got to find really in your product line the stuff that makes sense. You know, you don't want to find something that's old. If it's too old, Amazon's not going to take it. Okay. B, it's probably not going to sell. But if it's right there at the cuff of relevancy, like with my example with the iPhone 7 cases, for example, I think this would be an opportunity to do things like that. You know, so it's just a good time if you have inventory and have it available. Try using Amazon to help you liquidate semi-relevant inventory, if you want to call it that way.
That works. That works for sure. And I mean, even if you're not accepted onto the deals, like if you don't want to put, if you don't think you can run any promos on your own products, you will naturally see an increase in traffic, in sales naturally, just due to the number of eyeballs on the Amazon site. However, like Richard said, I see some of the numbers that these lightning deals do. And, I know for a fact that, people have had 500-600 to allocate and they've sold out within half an hour. Yeah. It's incredible the numbers which can happen. Like I said, if the deal is relevant, if the price is right, that's how you win big when it comes to Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals on Amazon. I would say as well, like Richard said, it is a case of don't be afraid as well to buy products specifically to sell at a sale, at a deal, at a promo. I've always said to do that for January sales, Boxing Day sales here in the UK. They've always been a big deal. But I do think it's only a matter of years. I mean, probably already the case in America. I think it will only be a matter of years here in the UK before Black Friday becomes the major sales period before Christmas. Not wait until after. Makes perfect sense. So again, it would let us know. What are you going to get involved? Are you going to submit some deals, some some promos of your own, some lightning deals or best deals, I think they call them? Let us know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Definitely.
Now, next up, we've got the autumn/fall seller update from eBay. What were your thoughts on this, Richard?
I mean, the actual seller updates, and we put links to both the UK and the US version. And a slight little funny anecdote, I was looking at all the other sites that eBay has, and there, a lot of the European ones got updates that are very similar, like German and French and so on. And Australia, the English, there's autumn. And then I started reading through it, and I'm like, this thing's really old. I realized,
we're waiting for that spring update.
Yeah, the spring one. So anyways, most of it is pretty mundane. I mean, honestly, I saw some of the comments by sellers. I love going to these community forums and see what people have to say. And, it's, this is the end of eBay. Okay, we've heard this now for how many years?
About 10 years, yeah.
So the reality is they're shoring up the problems, or not problems, they're shoring up the competition. Amazon is forcing the issue. They're saying, if you want to compete at the highest level, you're going to have to do this, 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 and this, and at the same time, the company, eBay wants buyers to have a more uniform shopping experience. They want people to go on there and realize, I get a 30-day return, or I get this, and I have the opportunity for that. They want to get away from it being considered a problem, like returning products, which I think what this perception is, for example, of many buyers when it comes to eBay. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a mini cold going. I think most of us this weekend got a little bit of we called it the California cold. And so in any case, I didn't really think that this particular update, some of the image stuff, whatever, okay, it's a little pain, but professional sellers for the most part should be okay with most of it, and it serves a purpose. It was going to clean up some areas. It was going to make things work better with Google. Google doesn't like, for example, images that have watermarks on them. Clearly, the other reason they wanted the watermarks off is because they're using more imagery for their catalog items. So since they now are saying we own, quote unquote, own the images the same way Amazon does, they want them to have no writing on them. I think last week during the Understanding E, when that whole thing came out live, and you guys ended up switching over the topic of the
we did. We reacted quickly on that one.
There was a little bit of discussion about about the watermarking and all that, but the reality is it's these are all just everything they put in this in both of these releases. UK and US are really just moving on with e-commerce the way e-commerce has evolved, and
absolutely, I totally agree.
And just the way some sellers react is like, you know what, guys, one way or another, you know, if they didn't force this on you, your listings people won't buy from your listings because they're just not going to trust you. So one way or another, your hand is being forced. You know, you can sit here and blame eBay all day long, but that's not who's forcing the hand. It's the buyer.
Exactly. It's about buyer expectations now more than anything. And I think that was the big one. Like when people asked, oh, was it a good update? Was it a bad update from eBay? I'd say it's largely good. You know, we didn't have any fee increases, which is the big one that we don't like. We didn't have any category changes, which is the other one which we don't like because that can cause headaches. You know, so we didn't have anything like that. The full like eBay getting involved in your returns, I'm not really sure how I feel about it. You know, it's a little bit big brothery, but I mean, still, like we said, it's for the betterment of the better buyer experience, which is ultimately a good thing. It increases that trust and people are more likely to buy with you. I don't for one second think that by eBay doing this, it's going to increase return rates. If someone's going to return a product, they're going to return a product. Yeah. That's it. You know, people don't enjoy returning products. They only return it if they have a genuine need to. So I don't think that's going to impact anything. Yeah, it's one of those. And like I said, with the catalog pages, the images, the watermarks, it makes perfect sense. And whilst we joke and say it's the Amazonification of eBay, eBay have to. It's like they have to change or they die. That is ultimately what they have to do. And it's by doing this, it's by having catalog pages, more static content. Google's going to like them more. You're going to see more eBay results in the search rankings. It's going to be much easier for eBay to run their own promotions, whether that be AdWords or anything else against your products. So it makes perfect sense. And again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I was going to say is, and that challenge anybody that really doesn't think this is the right thing by eBay to do one thing: take Amazon out of the equation. Don't even look at Amazon. Now go look at your largest competitors in your industry and see what they're doing. I'll take, for example, the industry I was involved with the car parts, which is Summit Racing here in the United States. 60-day handshake money back guarantee. Period. End of story. They've been doing it.
If you're not doing the same, you look not as trustworthy.
That's it. You know. So
yeah, it's a curious one for sure, and I think that's the thing. Is that a lot of people who started off selling on eBay as hobbyists turned into a small business, and it's growing. They may be stuck in the way of how they got started doing things, but it's like that you now have to upgrade your thinking. You have to treat it as a proper business. Run your business as how you want it to be, not how it currently is. So if you want it to be a multi-million-pound business, you run it as a multi-million-pound business, not as, Rich and Dave who's selling some car parts out the back of a garage. If you want to be big time, you have to pretend you are Halfords or Canadian Tire or whoever else, is in that sort of industry. I don't really know the American car parts industry that well. So yeah, I think it's genuinely a good thing. And again, I did feel sorry for a friend of ours over on Standard who was saying, I've now got 20,000 images, which I need to remove the watermark of. Again, sells car parts. And we're still not sure whether eBay Motors is exempt from this.
It's eBay Motors gray area. Yeah, it's the gray area, which they never talk about because they don't want people to know that for all these years they've been given eBay Motors sort of like the exemption. And one of the reasons that I believe they've given eBay Motors the exemption over all this time is that the catalog of imagery that they're getting through the digital services here in the United States that provide for the parts have often writing on them. There might be specification writings on the images. Some of them had logos on them. There was all kinds of stuff like that. So it was interesting. So I always believed that because they couldn't clean up their own imagery, it was going to be difficult for them to control that because the imagery that they were supplying through their catalog had all that stuff on it. Now, does that mean that's going to change? I have noticed over the last couple of years that a lot of the manufacturers in my industry have changed the images. They've taken off. They actually one of them provides two images. One zip file has with and one has without. So there's some change that's been happening. So it's very possible car parts will become part of this, or parts and accessories. You know, at the end of the day, again, it's Google. Google doesn't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Google is forcing this, and you know,
that's the thing. And I think that's probably a great answer. Is like, have both. You know, have with watermark and without. That's why if you have your own website, you can have your company's branding on the images. You know, it would be as expected. But when it comes to eBay, there really is no workaround for it. They've come in and said this is how it's got to be. And with that in mind, they've given you until March, so they've given you 6 months to do this. So I think even 20,000 images could be done in 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, if you are a, you know, if Christmas season is your big season, you have really, let's say you go into January, you have effectively 60 days to clean up your images after that. On the car parts business, car parts is typically a at least in the United States, it's a March through June business. Then, you know, now is the time to do it. So that 6 months should work for pretty much almost all industries, regardless of your cycles, you know. So
yeah, absolutely. Now let's get on to the one that I've been waiting for, the most contentious one of the week, and probably the most contentious piece we've seen from eBay in a while. And this is the news that obviously we've spoken before about how eBay have updated their links policy and contact information policy. So sellers can now no longer include phone numbers, email addresses within their listings. All that information has to be kept within business information. However, they've come out now and said that if you seem to be, or there's any hint that a buyer or a seller is asking for phone numbers, email addresses, and there's evidence of that from eBay, so probably through messages, eBay messages, then eBay now have the right to charge you a final value fee on the suspicion that a transaction may have occurred off of site. What's the initial thoughts on this one?
My initial thoughts on that were, and now let's take back I'm going to divulge my age here. My initial thoughts are, having grown up in the Cold War, what are we running? The KGB, the Stasi, the Cuban intelligence service? What the hell? Okay, so that's my initial thought. Let me explain why I came up with my initial thought. I don't have an issue with eBay enforcing a policy of no outside communication like that. They obviously, in years past, it was always good practice to put phone numbers in there because that made you look better. Now the platform has gotten to the point now with all these other rules and regulations where, you know, everything can be handled through email, and people are much more used to handling it through email and messages. So we don't need those kind of direct communication with phone numbers. There's also somewhat of a perception by some buyers that there's these huge fees, which if you're a professional seller and you're top rated seller, they're not that huge if you look at them as advertising fees. Okay. You know, so somebody, I flat out will tell you, I had people ask, oh, can't you save me 25% if we do the transaction outside of eBay? It's like, no, it's nowhere near that. Where you come up with that? So I don't have a problem with that because it makes it for a more secure platform, which is what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a safe trading platform. So having said we're going to take out all the direct contact information stuff, that right there probably eliminates 90% of these issues. Okay, so then there's maybe whatever the number is that's left, 10% or so, and now all of a sudden we come up with we have already AI. We had a story on that before where we talked about the messages, AI to catch more people because they were doing creative things with email. But now they're going to say, well, we're going to charge you final value fee if you have a suspicion of, and we might even charge you for the research for doing it. And to me, that's really going a little overboard. And the part about it that bothered me a little bit, and which just gives me back to the KGB, Stasi, Cuban intelligence thing, is if you are contacted by a buyer to do this, the way to protect yourself as a seller is you report the buyer. Now, have you seen eBay anywhere state that to the buyers that, oh, by the way, we encourage sellers to protect themselves if you ask for do something outside by reporting you to us? I mean, this is why what I'm saying. It's like this is Stasi. This is the German intelligence, East German intelligence system. You know, you had all the neighbors spying on one person and then reporting that person to the next group, and it became like the spy on spy. You know, and I'm sitting there like,
eBay clearly never heard of the rule snitches get stitches. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you know, now we're going to the mafia rule. You know, it's like they can accomplish what they can accomplish without putting it out there like that. No, you know, again, like I said, I'm a Cold War child, I guess, to some extent. So, you know, I see this, and I live in Miami on top of it. So because the Cubans are still communists, you know, and Venezuela is so I sort of have that, you know, it's been around my life for a while. Maybe I just see it weird. I just found that approach, I don't know if offensive is the right word, but I just found it troubling. It just seemed like, you know, improve your AI, tell people if you do this too much, we're going to restrict your ability to do things. If a buyer contacts you, don't hold, you know, just as long as you clearly indicate, again, we have plenty of AI, as long as you clearly indicate, hey, I can't do this, and let it be. You know,
it's such a strange one for me because it's I'm sat on the fence in a such as I get it. It's sort of fair. It's basically eBay charging you a referral fee for the customer. It's like if you have transacted off of eBay and the buyer found you on eBay, it's a referral fee. That's basically what it is. However, the problem becomes it's this suspicion. They don't need proof. They just need to have a suspicion. And they've ruled that suspicion is any form of contact information sent which could lead to communication off of the eBay messages. That, for me, brings a few too many black holes. In as such as, like, again, I can think of 3 examples. I know 3 sellers who immediately after this news broke in last week contacted me asking me, how do I get around this? And I had to say, I'm not advising you anything right now because this could really get you into a lot of trouble and really affect your business. But someone's selling fridges. Now, fridges obviously have the gas canister in the back and need to be transported with a specialist courier in a specialist manner. And that courier requires a contact number from the customer in order to be able to deliver it. I've got another friend or customer of Understanding who sells like sheds. Same thing, specialist 2-man delivery, needs a contact phone number for the customer in order to arrange a suitable delivery time. And then someone selling Whirlpool baths. Again, huge jacuzzi baths, same thing, specialist courier, 2-man delivery, needs a phone number to arrange a suitable time when the buyer is going to be in to deliver. Guess what? If the buyer, and like I said, one of these guys had 4 of these last week, a buyer who did not have an adequate contact number on their account, so something like 10 zeros or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, clearly not a real phone number. How is this man now supposed to get his stuff? Because the seller can't say, we really need a phone number in order for the courier to deliver your goods, because then eBay kick up a fuss and might start charging him fees, even though the transaction's already gone ahead on eBay anyway. And I think that's the problem, is that whilst this might work for 90% of buyers, there's this 10% who are selling more specialist goods where this just is a nightmare for them. And you've got this issue now where there should be a rule where it's like, okay, if eBay can tell a transaction has gone through, then, you know, a phone number for couriers should be a good thing. It should be an allowed thing. Or maybe even like a one-way, you know, communications platform where you can say, I need a phone number, contact this person to arrange delivery. I don't even need your phone number. But then is the courier set up for that? So again, there's so many question marks and gray areas that this has brought about, which have just popped up in the last 4 or 5 days. It seems that eBay haven't really thought about the impacts that this rule change is going to bring about for it's a policy which doesn't work for everyone right now, and that's my biggest problem, especially on the run up to Christmas. It's a bit of a pain, and and the other thing is, like, the amount of time and effort they've put into making this happen. How big was the leak? How big was the leak of people transacting off of eBay?
Well, that gets me to my other thought I had when this came out. It's like, we have never heard, or nor have I found a study, and I tried actually looking for one. Maybe there's one out there. I just wasn't able to find it. I tried both. Well, no, we tried to fly, but on the flight to California, I'm sitting there, 6 hours, nothing to do. So they go, okay, eBay leak, eBay sales. I was doing all kinds of searches, couldn't find anything, and so. The thing is, how big is it? Because it's never been quantified. And now the fact that you just this year changed to take a lot of this information out, you first need to see where that leads you before you go in with something draconian like this. And while I believe that eBay, in the case of the folks who you're talking with, they probably wouldn't see that as contact information because that sale has gone through, or they might. Okay, sales gone through. We're obviously not going to double charge for something, but the reality is it's they're making an assumption that all the seller phone number information is correct. Well, you know what? If you're going to make that assumption, then the first thing that eBay should do is make confirmation phone calls, like a lot of other things, verification phone calls. So when you sign up for an eBay account, you get a verification phone call, because they don't do that, to the best of my knowledge.
Nope, not that I've seen.
Or at least haven't done it on older accounts. Maybe they do it on newer accounts now. I haven't set anything up new.
I don't think so. I've not heard of anything like that.
I've not heard of it either. So at least verify that the phone numbers that are being provided are correct. And if the phone numbers are correct in your system, then okay, then you can go to, then now you can provide all the information necessary. But it's almost like, and here's the thing that bothered me also about this whole deal, and besides the whole Stasi and KGB tie-in on my end there, is how this was done. This wasn't part of the seller updates. This was not like somewhere in there and then you go, here it is. We did the big sell updates. Everybody went like, oh, okay, yeah, not a big deal. Okay, we see, we get it. Like what we just talked about. And then they sneaked this email in that same day. I have 4 eBay accounts. I got the email on all 4 eBay accounts at 10 o'clock my time, Eastern time, in the evening. So they sneak it in through a policy update. How many people read user agreement updates? Very, very
not
rarely.
many.
Not many. Okay, so they sneak this in through a user agreement update that is mostly not read by people, and you sit there and go like, why did you have to do that? It's just the whole presentation of the rollout of this, the fact, why is it needed when you haven't even finished the first part of it yet, which is taking everything off, and then second, the way you presented it through a user agreement update. It's just, I don't know. It made me kind of like, is John Donahoe back and we just didn't know? I mean, I hate to say it that way. And I don't want to go into big conspiracy theories here. Notice how Hal Lawton hasn't been there for the last 3-4 weeks. And in the last 3-4 weeks, we had 2 contentious things from eBay. One was this one. And what was the other one with the, not contentious, but the one with that spring company that made the big announcement, and we look at it and we're like, who are these people? Because they're selling nothing on eBay, yet you're turning it into this big fashion deal, and you're like, of the old kind of a deal that they did 3 years, 4 years ago, that all of those deals went nowhere and were basic crap. So you sit there go like, does this have anything to do with it? Just dumb coincidence, did Hal leave because there was something going on inside of eBay and management differences on how things should be done? I don't know. I'm just now reaching a little bit. I don't want to go too far off the reservation. I just think that this deal, just the rollout of it was bad. I don't know why it's needed at this level. I don't know why you have to be so draconian about it. Let the other things go first. Let's see how it goes. And then if you really think there's a big leakage problem, okay,
Yeah, I think they need to look at their own internal policies rather than going straight for sellers and buyers here. And just a quick on the live chat there, someone said, how do they prove this? They don't have to prove that you've sold off of eBay. They only need to suspect it. And right now it looks like their criteria for suspecting this is if you've communicated an email or a phone number before a purchase has been made. And if they find that to be the case, which I believe will be quite easy now with the new AI and the messages, they have said that they may not only charge you final value fees, but they may charge you a fee for having to charge you final value fees. So yeah, it's a bit of a crazy one. And Nick has just said they're going to do this and look for a rise in sales that isn't there. I bet it's 1% of sales just from the conversations I have with customers who don't want to purchase through eBay. Yeah, 1%. I would argue back when I was running, I've run a few eBay accounts in my time, you get the odd one, but I bet it wasn't even 1 in 100. In fact, probably wasn't. It was probably close to 1 in 500. So like I say, a 0.5% of people who actually ask to transact off eBay, I don't know. I think if your store is set up the right way, most people are happy to transact on eBay. You've got the seller guarantee, you've got the PayPal, the protection is there, the trust is there. For me, I don't think, like you said, that the rise in sales that they're hoping this is going to bring, I don't see it. I think it's going to turn some people away from eBay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think it would be a net neutral effect at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And to that same thing, I mean, I would get the occasional request to sell something off eBay on a piston set and a higher dollar amount item. Because people think, okay, even if
there's some money to be saved from the
money to be saved. But even with that, like you said, it was like so little. I can't remember that I ever had a month where maybe it wasn't more than 2 or 3 people asking for that, and that was it. And that's out of hundreds and hundreds of sales. And I've had a couple of people ask for $50 items, but what normal seller is going to do it on $50 items? No one's going to do that.
It's not worth the hassle. It's not worth
the hassle.
No, not at all. So anyway, I guess we should wrap up there. That is, this has been the eSellerCafe News Roundup. Let us know what you think of this new format, if you've enjoyed it. Thank you, Nick, and guys for getting involved in the discussion live. You too can get involved in discussion live. We hold these every single Monday, 4 p.m. UK time, 11 a.m. Eastern, and 8 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so there we go.
5 a.m. if you're in Honolulu.
Yeah. Midnight Australia.
I don't know what it is in Guam.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this. If you have enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Let us know what you think. Again, always appreciate your comments on what we've talked about down in the comment section below. As a quick heads up, Richard, what we got lined up coming up next week?
I'm going to take a look at Amazon brands actually this week. Yeah, Amazon brands and the amount of brands that they have trademarked. I did a whole search through the U.S. trademark office and found some really interesting things. Some are dead, but some are alive. So I'm writing a piece on that.
Interesting. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing the results of that one in next week's roundup. So with that said, there's nothing else left to say other than thank you, Richard, for once again turning up fresh off a plane and bringing you a game.
Did you see my plane hair?
I don't know what my excuse is.
Like this, yeah, this is not first class plane hair, by the way. This is sitting in the back of the bus plane hair.
Anyway, with that said, we will let you go and crack on with the rest of your Monday. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and we'll see you, as always, next week. See you then, guys.
Yep. See you then. Bye-bye.